Hello and welcome back to another review here on the channel. This time round I'm going to be taking a look at a game called musicracer. It's been around for quite a while now on PC and mobile devices, but it is going to be coming to consoles over the next few days, so you should be able to get it on your PlayStation, your Xbox and also the Nintendo Switch. It's a rhythm game which most of you are probably very familiar with. It reminds me quite a lot of Frequency and Amplitude from back on the PlayStation 2 days, but it's much more simplified and stripped back. The idea behind the game couldn't be any simpler. All you're really trying to do is actually hit each of the white notes, or as many as you possibly can anyway, whilst avoiding the obstacles on track. And to do this you are going to need just one button, which is the left analog stick, and that is the only control input you need to use through an entire stage. So it's very easy to see that this has come from mobile phone territory. However, we haven't actually had all the features ported over directly from the phone, but I'll get onto that in just a little while. But let's start with the visuals, and it's definitely something I can get on board with. They've gone for a real 80s kind of neon theme, what they class as a retro wave, and it really does look fantastic when the cars are hurtling along at 200 miles an hour and you've got nothing but neon lights going past. Add to the mix a super solid frame rate, and this thing really is a feast for your eyes, and on top of that the sense of speed is just phenomenal. So much so that by the end of an event you're probably going to be suffering with a bit of dry eye because you just don't have time to blink. There's a decent amount of content here to unlock as well. There's 14 levels available and there is 25 cars that you can unlock, and each of those has the ability to be customised, although I must say the customisation is very limited. All you can really do is change the colour of the wheels or the body. What's really nice to see though, and I think is a really good touch, is the fact that they've managed to keep the 80s themes within the cars as well, so you will find things like the Tron bike and also a Back to the Future inspired car as well. The way you unlock all of these goodies is simply by playing the game. As you hit the notes on the track, it gives you a point. By the end of it, you will have a certain amount that converts straight over into currency that you can then go and buy these items with. What was quite nice to see though was that a lot of the items don't cost a huge amount of money, and at no point did any of it feel unachievable. And in fact, for the couple of hours that I was playing it just felt like I was constantly unlocking something, and that works really well and it definitely keeps you engaged. Being a rhythm-based game, obviously music plays a huge part here, and they've got a decent amount of tracks on offer. They all fit very well with the style of the game, but if it's variety you're after, this is definitely not the game for you. Unless you're really into electro-pop, this music just isn't going to do it for you. And unfortunately, this is where the new console releases of musicracer really start to show some cracks. In both the PC and smartphone versions of this game, you can actually import your own music, which is a feature that should definitely have been here for the console versions as well. It's definitely something that's required. It brings far more people in to play the game because you really want to be listening to the music that you love. I guess that's probably not the developer's fault, and it's probably down to the implementation issues that you would have on console. However, it does just feel like a huge area that is lacking from this new release. Another thing that really surprised me with this console release was the fact that there is no PlayStation VR support. This has had VR support on the PC for a long time. I really expected it to be on here, and it's one of those things I can imagine this game really comes alive once you're in that headset. You've got those neon lights screaming past you. It must look fantastic. But who knows, maybe it will be implemented later on, but just don't pin your hopes on it because nothing has been confirmed yet. The gameplay itself is super fast. In fact, it's relentlessly fast, with just the odd occasional break where you get a break in the music and it will slow right down just before the beat drops and it speeds straight back up again. To begin with, it feels impossible and like you're never going to be able to keep up with it all. However, the more you play, the more you settle into it, you do start to find your rhythm and it does become achievable. You're looking to score stars on each of the events that you actually do, and they can range from 1 to 3 depending on how well you do. There's 3 different difficulties on offer here. They each have their own differences that separates them from one another. In Zen Mode, effectively there is no obstacles, so you can just play through the game, enjoy the music, picking up some points as you do it. If you have it in the normal mode, there is obstacles on track, but they will not kill you instantly. Effectively, all they do is slow you down, make the car expand a bit, and you lose some points. However, in hard mode, if you hit one of those obstacles, it is game over and you have to start all over again. Playing on the harder settings definitely offers far more of a challenge. However, there is a couple of fundamental issues with the gameplay, in my opinion anyway, that really stop you enjoying the game to its fullest. The first one is the visibility, and it is a huge issue considering how fast you're actually going in game. The way the track undulates up and down means that you can't see some of the notes that you're supposed to be hitting, but equally you can't always see the obstacles that are coming up as well, which can end your game instantly. Now, I did actually find in the options menu a little bit of a solution to this, and the game, when you first install it and you start playing it, the camera angle is set to 1, or that's what it's classed as within the settings, and that's actually very close to the back of the car. But what that does, it gives you a real sense of immersion, and I can see why they've set that as the standard camera. Everything's whizzing past the car, you really feel like you're part of it. But you can actually adjust that camera as much as you want, so you can pull it right back from the car and it gives you a much better field of view ahead of you. It makes the game far easier to play. However, there is a huge problem here, because as soon as you do that, you lose all the immersion, you lose the sense of speed, so it does kind of spoil the game. So unfortunately, there's no real winning scenario here. You can't get it just right, which I just feel like is a bit of a shame, and maybe something that should have been addressed when they were developing it. The other big issue here is the fact that the notes on track don't seem to match up with the music, which is surprising considering these are all preset tracks. You could forgive it if you were importing your own music, but in this scenario it should be absolutely perfect, and it just isn't. I'm guessing if you're already here, you're probably really into rhythm games, and I don't really need to tell you this. However, everyone that plays these types of games knows that the really important thing here is that those notes match up. There is nothing quite like playing Guitar Hero. You get to the solo and you smash every single one of those chords. That's what makes you feel so good playing it. And unfortunately with this, you just feel super detracted from the actual game. It's like you're just listening to music and playing something completely different. On top of that, strangely, there's really no penalty for not hitting the notes. Again, if you use Guitar Hero as an example, the whole point was that when you first started playing that game, it was difficult. You could barely get through a song because you'd be missing the notes. It would just stop. Whereas here, there's no real issue with it at all. You could just sit in one lane, assuming there's no obstacles in it, and just go all the way to the end without even doing anything. Overall, sadly, I think it's just a little bit of a shame. This game has kind of missed out in areas that really should have been fixed before it was released. That being said though, the couple of hours or so that I actually spent with it, I did really enjoy myself, and the progression and the way you're unlocking things, like I said earlier, just seemed to keep me engaged, and I kept going. But I don't know how far my want to play for it would extend once I'd unlocked everything. Hopefully some of the things I've mentioned might actually be addressable. You never know, we might see some updates that actually rectify the issues that I found. If that is the case, I think this will definitely be worth going back to and trying for yourself if you haven't already done so. Is it worth buying though? And that's the question I'll always get asked, and it's a really hard one to answer because it's quite a personal thing. If you're into this sort of thing, then definitely give it a go. It's a budget release, it's not too expensive. You'll probably get quite a bit of enjoyment out of it. Like I say, the time I spent with it was definitely good. Will I go back to it? I'm not entirely sure, so that's what you need to weigh up. I think if I'm completely honest, the best advice I can give you is that if you own a PC or a mobile phone, you'd probably be better going for either of those two versions at the moment over the console release, mainly down to the fact that you can put your own music on it. I think it's such an important part of this game, and it would make a huge difference to the console version if they could put that into it. I really hope you found today's review helpful. If you have, make sure you give the video a like. It really helps them grow when you do. Also, use that comment section down below to let me know your thoughts on this game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.